Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, animals of all ages, welcome to Saturday night spent here at SimSational TV with your good self, Zach O'Reilly, and joining me in the commentary box tonight, Lindsay Muddle. We are live here at Laguna, Seca for the opening round of ASA's Pro Series tonight. A little bit of a small grid here, but does not matter. Laguna Seca is an epic track, and we're watching a little bit of practice come on and be here ready to go for qualifying very, very shortly. But Lindsay, welcome. This is going to be an exciting series, be it the small grid at the start. I reckon it's going to make championship battles very exciting come the future.
Yeah, I think the smaller grid definitely gives a different dynamic for the opening round here, as we'll have other drivers jumping in later down the line at the other rounds. But right now, small grid means be a competition, I think, because everybody will just be that much more urged on to fight further up the front, and I think it's going to be an absolutely fantastic opening round here. It's a hot track, 31 degrees here at Laguna Seca, so the tyres will be absolutely cooking around here. Oh
yeah, cooking and basically going from, I would say, cooking to probably dead at some stage as well in the grand scheme of things. It's going to be awesome to see, and we can't wait to see what qualifying is going to bring us here tonight. With a little bit of practice just finishing off there, you can see who was at the start of that, and free practice 2 about to kick off, which is a bit odd. I don't think that's going to happen. They're going to push the server across here, ladies and gentlemen. But we've got some predictions here. Live from Lindsay Muddle himself. He's got a bit of background info here on these boyos. What are we going to see here tonight, Lindsay?
I reckon we're going to see Steve-O fighting well up the front. He topped the practice, and he is absolutely flying. He races in Fargorn, which I happen to commentate over on the Tuesday night, and he is absolutely flying out there in the championship battle, won the opening round, so he's clearly on form currently. He's in the Ferrari, and he feels comfortable. Also, Breno Urs, and all of these guys are really quick, but I'd imagine Breno will be taking the fight to Steve-O just as well. And I know a few of the other drivers on this grid, but I don't know where they're going to stack up pace-wise. Those are the main two that I know, but I expect to see a very close competition here tonight.
Yeah, very much so. And when we see all the cars in the same class, it's just a matter of down to who is better at driving each individual car. You've got the Porsches, you've got Ferraris, you've got McLarens, you've got Nissans, Audis, and I'll tell you what, an Aston Martin there sitting lonely on the grid too. All mid-engine, rear-engine, and front-engine. We've got them all here tonight on track. And you can see some handicaps there as well in the weight department, also just based on what the cars are in terms of balance of performance. It's got nothing to do with the driver's performance. It is literally a balance of performance situation here too for all the drivers tonight. So it's going to be exciting. Laguna Seca, the infamous corkscrew, a famous turn 1 as well. It's literally a downhill on camber turn 1, and we see a lot of people going a little bit wide there and losing some positions. Whereabouts do you reckon tonight, Lindsay, we are going to see some overtaking done and dusted?
I think down into turn 1 is going to be the main action zone, but if somebody makes a mistake going through the very tricky fast left-hander going towards the corkscrew, I think that we'll see some overtakes going down into the corkscrew, because if you get a bad run through that left-hander, you're going right up a hill. You're not going to be able to get your speed back at all. Some car behind you will be right there to snap up the position. So I think those are the two key overtaking zones of the circuit tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, even though we've got, I would say, probably the more talented people on the grid tonight, I still reckon it's going to be awesome. And I still think a lot of people are going to be doing battles up and down the field with 11 or 12 cars here on the grid. It's not going to matter. I don't think we'll care too much over the course of the period tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And what we see, it's going to be interesting. That's for sure here at SimSational TV. And that's what we bring here for you. I reckon these boys are doing a little bit of driver's briefing at the moment, Lindsay Muddle. Looks like they're sitting around just having a bit of high tea, sitting around with some scones and maybe a bit of jam and some I reckon, Earl Grey is on the menu tonight. What do you reckon these boys will be talking about in the briefing?
Probably just be safe. There's no reason to throw away your race for absolutely no reason, but it looks like they've forwarded to the next session, and qualifying is now going to be underway here, Zach O'Reilly.
We are dead set, ready to go. Qualifying is up, ladies and gentlemen. Let's bring you every single thing that we need to find out here on the grid tonight. We have got 11 drivers in the field. And John Zoo's just decided to go straight out and basically piss off down into the onto the main grid. No one's taking. Oh no, we've got a couple of drivers there taking the racing line and the pit entrance line as well. But Zoo's on the board. I tell you, man, that guy. I tell you what a Zoo is. If you got a bad one, it's a dog breed. It's a Shih Tzu. And this guy here won't be wanting to do anything on that performance. I guarantee you tonight. Stephen Rees, however, is flying. He will want to be putting his best lap forward and foot forward too, if you don't mind, because he was the fastest in practice there that we just saw end, and by a fair margin. He is in the Ferrari tonight, and is that the preferred car for Stephen Rees there as they continue their outlap, Lindsay?
Yeah, it seems like it. He looked very comfortable on Tuesday night when he was at Valencia, and he drove this car a few times in Enduros over the course of last year as well, so he's just returning back to a car that he's more familiar with. He looks really pacey with the 296 underneath him, and I'm excited to see what he has to bring tonight here to the Pro Series grid.
Yeah, definitely. You can't really beat anything like that when it comes to pure pace. That's what these gentlemen are excellent about, and ACC is a heavy and very sturdy simulator to drive on. One of the best out there, if not the best, for all these cars in terms of physics, tyre balance and everything. But we're going to go for a lap here with the man himself, Stephen Rees. Lindsay Muddle, it is all up to you. Take it away, son, for the opening lap of qualifying.
All right, here goes Steve-O for a lap here of Laguna Seca, braking at the 3 board, and get ready for a tight double left hairpin as turn 1 is a nice double apex, and now flat out as you head through into a medium speed right-hander. You've really got to hook it across for the apex, and watch out for the sand on the outside of the track. Steve-O just about dipping into it before a little bit of a dab of the brakes for a fast right-hander, where you'll go all the way now towards a very, very tricky left-hander. Super easy to brake too late and find yourself off into the bunda there if you make a mistake on the brakes, but he gets into the camber well, and now a very high speed left. You've got to have some confidence. You've got to get to the inside camber here, and you can carry 4th gear. So much speed there Steve-O takes, and now the run up the hill to the famous corkscrew, and just braking over the crest. Use the ABS to your advantage in these GT3 cars. Keep it tucked to the left and then cut across to the right. Don't abuse the track limits, or the game will be harsh and penalise you for it. And now this fast double left, and you've got to get to the apex, otherwise you will lose time early on the throttle before dabbing the brakes here for the right-hander. And he runs just a little bit wide there, a little bit of a touch into the sand, and then braking at the 2 board for the final corner. Tip it across, use the TC as little as you can on the exit, and that is a lap of Laguna Seca as he's running up towards the line now. What is the lap time going to be for Steve-O? It's going to be a 1 minute 22.3. What a lap that is from Steve-O.
Oh, geez, purple everywhere but the second sector. Who is going to knock him off? Breno Alice, I'll tell you what though. He's ready to go. He's not too far away at all. That was only 1/10 difference between the two of them. Wowee, that is incredible stuff. Those guys are not giving each other 1 millimeter on the track there. And so he's going to be someone that we need to look out for as well, because Steve Rees, as we know, quick, as Lindsay said, but in the grand scheme of things, anything can happen. Qualifying, you set a good fast lap to put a banker in. Is not going to go any faster for a couple of these guys, but it will, because Hammond has banged and absolutely topped everyone again. So there is 122.2 for Will Hammond. He is on pole at this moment. Wowee, what a drive from him at this moment. And Rees is in second, and then Breno Alice has just even dipped down further. We've got people changing positions everywhere. Meg D's in there. We've got Alice in there as well, the footballer. We've got Mag Wheels, and we've got the Zookeeper sitting there in 4th, 5th, and 6th respectively. 10 minutes and 46 seconds left in qualifying. What's going to happen here, boys? Jeez, this is incredible stuff.
Yeah, I think it's anybody's game here in this qualifying session with the caliber of driver we have out there. It's just all going to be who makes the least mistakes, and that's what a qualifying is all about. Is absolutely on the limit action for 15 minutes here as they push the cars as hard as they can. Those opening laps won't be particularly representative for all the drivers though, as the tyres won't be fully up to pressure by the time you finish your outlap. So normally the first sector takes a bit of time to shave off in the second lap, which I think is what we're going to see now as all the drivers prepare for their second laps. And I think that Will Hammond just took a cool down that one, and now he's pushing again here in the Ferrari.
Yeah, tyre pressure is very important around here, and the Assetto Corsa Competizione definitely gives you a beautiful example of how to not abuse a tyre on the opening laps. You run the curbs, you run onto the grass, gravel, you stress that tyre on the opening laps of any session, you will pay for it in the long run. It might feel good for the next 10, 15 laps, depending on what track it is, but you need to cool them down when you're in qualifying. One push, one cool down. Very Formula 1-esque style, if you don't mind. And it's incredible to see, but I think Hammond here is now on a bit of a run. He is setting purple in the first sector here. He's 2/10 up on his personal best so far. What is he going to do here in Sector 2? He's coming through the corkscrew now here at Laguna Seca. Wowee, this is looking incredible stuff. He's still up on his personal best. What is the next sector going to give him? Surely it's going to tell us there on the sector timings. It's giving me other information here at the moment. 107 at the moment is his lap time. 109, 110. Can he get around within the next 12 seconds to start another lap here? Oh my goodness, I'm not too sure what's going on here.
As he's heading towards the line, there's 9 minutes to go in this qualifying session, and Will Hammond to the line is not going to improve. He has a 22.1. Currently, though, Steve-O is up on his previous best, and he's snatched back provisional pole to boot.
So Stephen Rees just did a 122.037 to beat his own time, and then Will Hammond must have got a track cut. That's why it's red all on the sector timings there, because he did a 122.19, so that would have catapulted him up into second place, but for a short moment there, because Tim Purcell has just come through and stuck himself in second position there, sitting in the pits, looking for a little bit of a break there, just get the brain resetted and see what we can do. But I'll tell you what, the opening batsman here, Tonkin, is absolutely tonking his way around Laguna Seca at the moment, hitting it left, right and centre, curbs, road, sand, you name it here on his outlap here at the moment for Tonkin. Although he is up, according to the timing tower there, on his personal best by a good 0.3 of a second. So he's wanting to tonk himself up into fourth place at this moment. What a place to do it now into the corkscrew for Tonkin. Let's see what we can look at here from the dash, from the cockpit cam on Tonkin's car. Just looking at the wheel work there too, looking very, very smooth. Just little corrections here, there, and a little bit everywhere. And I'll tell you what, that car is looking pretty planted there for Tonkin, albeit a little bit conservative, but still 4/10 up, and I think he's just run a little bit deep there. He was 4/10 up, now he's only 3 and a little bit off his personal best. He's just about to cross the line here. He's going to set a 122 something, 122.2 for Tonkin. So that's put him from 5th into 4th place, up 1 position. The dinner for 2 number there, 69, hello, in Tonkin's court.
Yeah, that was a very, very impressive lap there from Alex Tonkin, and considering his third sector was yellow, it seems like there's more time to find in that McLaren. Currently he's pushing again, and he is down on his previous best, so I think he's decided to back out of it, cool the tyres down. But it's really heating up here as the session goes on and on and on. All the drivers pumping in the best laps that they possibly can as Tonkin pulls off to the side. He will go back to the pit lane and try again, but there's 6 minutes and 40 seconds to go here as we look to Nathan Henderson in the Nissan GTR. Potentially not the best car on pure pace on the grid, but it is a weapon in a straight line, which could help him get some overtaking done for the race. So maybe qualifying not Henderson's main focus. Yeah,
maybe. Just see what he can do. He's in the Alpha Tauri livery there, is Hendo, and looking very, very racing. Not at that point, just onto the gravel and the sand there. That's not going to be too promising for his overall race pace, but he is on an outlap at the moment, so not to worry about him. He is finding his tracks and he's stopping on the grid, so we're going to get off him. Let's go to the Greek god himself, who was just on track and now he's in the pit, so he's absolutely given me a doozy. Let's go back to Mag Wheels here, spinning his way around Laguna Seca, doing a great job. That Ferrari looking very, very cool. That is very Scuderia Formula 1-esque style livery there with the red and the yellow stripe. Loving it. But Mag Wheels has got to get on his wheelhouse and get himself further up the grid. 9th at the moment is a fair way away from pole. His personal best is a 122.8 versus Stephen Rees on pole at the moment with a 121.692. He is a good 1.2 seconds off the pace. So Mag Wheels, start getting yourself a bit forged, mate. Get it in the slot and start going once more. You'll find it. We'll just see though, Lindsay, I reckon. Let's we've got 5 minutes left. Let's ride on board here again with the man himself and see what he can do. And if we can hear any sighs in the background tonight, ladies and gentlemen, from Lindsay Muddle, he is in a 24-hour race at Bathurst at the moment, I think, or Daytona, is it? I can't remember which one it is. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of those. But he is watching his own teammates drive around too, and if he's sighing and swearing in the background, that is only because something's happened to his personal team. But nonetheless, Mag Wheels is making his way around Laguna Seca here at the moment, coming into turn 2, looking very, or turn 3 effectively, very, very nice there for Mag Wheels at the moment. He is neck and neck on his own personal best here. You can see what his last lap was, 1:23.0, so it was a good 2/10 off his personal best. But he'll be wanting to get on the trot as well, braking heavily into the left-hand on camber corner as well. He can really, really push the car onto the exit because that curb there is a little bit of an escape road. But this corner here can upset any car balance. If you get that wrong, you are off into that gravel and absolutely slowing down at 1,000,000 miles an hour here. Mag Wheels approaching the top of the hill into the corkscrew here, braking very late, just overran that corner. Just a slight touch there, but gathered it up beautifully there. Second gear, now third, as we round the double left-handed kink down the hill from the corkscrew. Coming into the right-hander here, brakes heavily, just get on the brakes and point it in and turn. Traction control doing all the work here for Mag Wheels. Let's see what he can do. Braking heavily into the final turnaround, Laguna Seca, into first gear, accelerating. Second gear coming our way. Third gear is about now, and there he goes, 166, 167. What is he going to set here at the moment? Not a, 122.9, just a 10th of his personal best. He's going to do one more cool-down lap and start for the next one, I would say. Is the Mag Wheel himself. Stephen Rees has gone even quicker, 122.169.2. What is Meg D going to do? I'll tell you what. We're giving her a nickname, D's Nuts, and she is giving every single ounce of those nuts at the moment. She needs to get it all up and proper, because any heavier will give her either ballast or downforce here at Laguna Seca to get all the way up to Stephen Rees, who is a good 3.8 tenths away from any sort of threat there from Tim Purcell himself, who has come around and put himself in second place also. It's interesting to see what we can do here, ladies and gentlemen. What are your predictions in the chat? Let's get on board here, because qualifying is under 3 minutes away from being Kaputski. Checkered flag will be waved, and Meg D is going to have to get on the bike and start going up the grid further away. She's a good 1/10 away from her personal best at this point in time. We'll see what she does when she crosses the line here. What is Meg D? 1:22.1. Still a little bit off the pace there. What do you reckon, Lindsay? Let's.
I reckon.
Yeah.
I reckon it's going to take a big lap for anybody to try and match Steve-O currently with how far he is out in the front, and he's still got another lap in qualifying to go. It'll be fascinating to see if he can find any more time here in the dying stages. There's 2 minutes to go, so everybody should get a lap or two left in this qualifying session to give it the full send, and they're going to have to really give it the boot if they want to get into the P1 place. Currently, Steve-O looks like he has that one on lock, but we have all of these high caliber drivers up and down the grid currently looking to get closer and closer and try and topple Steve-O, who currently is on a lap, but he's not pushing super hard, but he's getting ready for a qualifying lap. So I reckon we stay in this helmet cam and we get ready here for Steve-O to fully commit to a lap of Laguna Seca. He's already gone off into the sand before he can even get the lap going, but here we go for an onboard lap. Just how we started this qualifying session is going to be the way that we come to close it. On board with Steve-O, helmet cam ready to go, and down towards turn 1, the Andretti hairpin. It is a slow double left-hander. You've got to find both the apexes. On the first lap we watched with Steve-O, he didn't make both the apexes, but if he's looking to improve on his previous best lap, he's going to have to this time around, and he does beautifully. Very smooth driving there from Steve Rees as he's looking to push through the right-handers. Look at the footwork. If you look down to the bottom side of your screen, you'll see Steve-O's throttle inputs just on, off, making sure he can get the car through the corner smoothly, getting the power down, and then now braking at the 2, getting it down to second gear before flicking it over to the left-hand apex and then powering out as fast as he dare before you trace the right-hand side curb on the entry. Just a dab of the brakes, third gear for Steve-O on full committed all the way to the out-hand side of the curb. You can't carry much more speed than that there, ladies and gentlemen. And before he heads down into the famous corkscrew, through the first left, a little bit deep there from Steve-O, but just not pushing the track limits too hard. It's a very neat run through the corkscrew. Hold it tight to the left, get to the apex curb, and then fully push it out, and then get it across, flick the car in the car under maximum grip at this current stage. These GT3 cars don't have a lot of downforce, but he's sure using all that it has. First gear through the final corner. That's a fully committed lap there from Steve-O. Is it going to topple his previous best lap time as he pushes towards the line? He's currently got a 21.6. He's going to do a 21.497 to finish the session.
Turn it up. Absolutely SimSational lap there from the man, the myth, the legend himself, the livery king in Stephen Rees, just taking the absolute P155, and he is 0.6 quicker than the fellow person behind him, Tim Purcell. Wowee, what a drive there from the man, Stephen Rees. What a way to end qualifying there on board with the master himself, showing exactly how it's done. A beautiful commentary there by Lindsay Muddle himself there as well, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you worry about that. We have got the best in the bizzo here at SimSational TV and on track for the Pro Series here tonight. What a qualifying session that was indeed. We'll bring the results up in just a few moments, but you can see them there on the side anyway. Stephen Rees in first place. Tim Purcell second, a good half a second and a bit behind. But I'll tell you what, Purcell and Meg D are going to be, and also Alice as well, on literally equal pace there. Only a bee's whisker between the two of them. Three of them, sorry. And Will Hammond, to Mr. Top Gear himself, doing a very, very good job indeed. We'll go back to the garage here and give you all of the info that you need as well. Let's get back to the grand scheme of things. I'll tell you what. Rees off pole position. Purcell, second place. Meg D, Alice, Hammond, all your top five. And racing is going to start in a good 3 minutes. Tonkin Mags, Zoo, the Greek god himself, Hendo, and Ostentatious sitting there in 11th place. But don't worry if you're in 11th place, Lindsay. We know exactly what can happen here in Assetto Corsa Competizione. Carnage is only one corner away.
Yeah, and that one corner could be the first corner. The Andretti hairpin, as we spoke about before, super easy to go wide. But on lap one, cold tyres, anything is possible. A good couple of rear-end taps could set your race from last gear all the way into first gear, the money shift. Some would call it potentially blowing up your gearbox on the way, but that is one way to kick your race right into it. And Steve-O, though, dominant pole position. He took it by 0.5 of a second. I didn't think I'd say that here tonight in the Pro Series. That's what a lap here from Steve-O.
Yeah, definitely. When you're 0.6 quicker than anyone else on track in qualifying trim, what is it going to perceive for race time? I'll tell you that. That is something to behold. 0.6 of a second quicker. Wowee, that's just another league in itself. But Steve Rees is racing here tonight, and I reckon some of his opponents who will be closer to him are racing in another Bathurst or whatever it is, 24-hour session, and they'll be back for the next round. And Steve might have something to think about here, but who knows? That's exactly what racing is all about, ladies and gentlemen. We just never, ever know what the fat lady will sing to you at the end of the race. It's incredible stuff here for the night. But let's get it all happening. We're going to have a lot of driving coming our way tonight here, Lindsay. The race itself is going to be a good one. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, I think we have a very good race ahead of us. All of these drivers, I think that the pole position from Steve-O might have been impressive, but once you get into race trim, the pace deficit will close in, especially with things like slipstream. I think we have a very close race ahead of us as we head into it. Steve-O opened up the Fargo season with a win. Can he open up the Pro season with a win? It's going to be very interesting to see, but that's all for us to find out over the course of the next 70 minutes. We're going to get going in a minute here. So Steve-O on pole alongside Purcell. They'll have a formation lap, and then we'll get underway for the racing action. But it could be anybody's game here, especially around a track like Laguna Seca with the sand in your car at a moment's notice if you run wide. It's unpredictable.
Oh, it definitely is. And when it comes to something, well, I guess when you're looking at a lot of the racing aficionados, it can be anyone's go by the time it comes to racing or not racing. When you see your guys coming down the grid in front of you, you're rolling start, you're looking very, very nervous, the heart rate is up, everyone's getting a little bit hairy and the red mist starts to develop, ladies and gentlemen. It's anyone's guess, and 70 minutes of racing is coming our way very shortly here for the first opener of the season here at ASA for the Pro Series. What else do we want to see? And Stephen Rees has galloped off into the distance. He is on a charge at the moment. Don't you worry about him. He's looking to get the chockies and take it early. Is Tim Purcell in second place there going to be any threat to him over a stint? We have got anyone's idea. I'll tell you what, it's interesting. You got Ferrari there in second place. You got Ferrari in first as well. Then you got Meg D sitting in the McLaren, looking very, very racy too. An awesome livery there too as well. We've got some beautiful liveries here on circuit tonight, and it's anyone's guess. Breno Alice is your fourth place getter with the full rose gold etiquette there in the Porsche. You can't miss that in your rearview mirror, Lindsay Muddle, with Top Gear himself, Will Hammond, another Ferrari driver, sitting out fifth place.
Well, hopefully Will Hammond doesn't have the same sort of driving style as Richard Hammond, because he might find himself in a few walls if that's the case. But from the qualifying, it looks like he is just a tiny bit better than Richard Hammond, I think you'd have to say, and it's a very impressive lap to put him in the P5 place as well. So he's looking pretty pacey. Then behind him, he has Alex Tonkin, who he's not going to have to... he has to look ahead of him pretty much. If he looks behind him, he will find himself falling back behind Alex Tonkin, and then Mags behind that as well. They were all really pacey in qualifying, and I think it's going to be anybody's game coming into the race. Any of these 11 drivers is good enough to win this race tonight. It's just all going to come down to who can end up, well, playing the strategy the best, because it's not just a 70-minute dash. We also, according to a little format sheet we have, it's 2 mandatory tyre stops.
Wow, 2 mandatory tyre stops. That is interesting. That is very interesting. We're going to have to be hot on our heels here in the commentary box to keep up with everyone. I don't know what's going on here either. We've got a bit of single file battling going on the rolling start. But I'll tell you what, the zookeeper himself, John Zoop, is sitting there very, very nicely in 8th place. You've got the Greek god behind him, Makridos, as well, in Costas, sitting there in 9th place. Henderson in 10th place, and then Ostentatious needs to be exactly that tonight in the Aston Martin. The only Aston Martin on the grid. He needs to get his gallop on and start to get racing. I'll tell you what, because 11th place is still only 1 place away from a top 10. If you want to brag to your friends about it, that's anyone's guess. But we are nearly set and ready here for a race start tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Around in the final corner. What are we going to see here? We're seeing the accelerator pedals already been pressed. The brake pedals ready to go. Meg D's holding up the grid there as well. Stephen Rees is your main pole position getter here. We'll stick on board with Will Hammond to see what he can do here off the start. We are about to go green, and it is all over and all ready to go. And we can see a bit of shuffling and going on here. Alice is going very attacking here on the pole sitter himself. Meg's going up the inside, and then we've also got Tim Purcell around the outside, Trailer Park Girl style. These guys are not giving each other an inch. I'll give you the hot tip. And I'll tell you what, Breno Alice into 2nd place. A bit of action at the back there too. And Alice into 2nd position, fighting for that 2nd place on the podium. I'll tell you what, these guys are going hammer and tong here. It's all happening at the background as well. We've got Ju here looking for a move around Tonkin. Tonkin is going defensive here, coming into the turn 4 of Laguna Seca, but he's going to try a Trailer Park Girl move again around the outside. Oh, bit of a switchback there too. I'll tell you what, it's all happening at the back of the grid. The skyline of Hendo's got up into 10th place, so he's happy where he is at the moment. What are we going to see from these 3 or 4? And it's looking very, very racy on board indeed here from the both of them. Let's go back to the rear view mirror and see this. Oh, here comes Hendo up the inside, taking position 9 off Makrilos. I'll tell you what, that is a fantastic move coming into the corkscrew so early. Very aggressive indeed is the Nissan Skyline. Lindsay Muddle said that the Skyline is a race-pace car rather than a qualifying car, and I'll tell you what, it's coming to fruition here. Is Stephen Rees under any attack from the first lap? No, he's not. But wowee, just some clean, beautiful driving there from everyone in Sundry. Wowee, what a first opening lap there, Lindsay.
Yeah, what a move it was from Henderson in the Nissan GTR. He just used the power that Nissan has to just climb up the hill and just go right down the inside. And we had some other action as well. Breno moving from 4th into 2nd place. What a start it was from the gold Porsche 992. And I'm sure he has more ahead of us as well. But Tim Purcell losing out a place definitely is going to sting a bit. But he's going to try close right back up to Breno as well and make it so he can claim back his P2 place. Meg D in P4 as well. They were 3 abreast down into turn 1. It was very aggressive from all three of them, and I'm sure that the racing won't end as well. And Will Hammond just sat back in the background, and he's now at the back of the train, just waiting to strike, waiting for a mistake as they head through the fast left here, and McDee's lost it. The gravel is paying the price there for Meg, who tried to use it, and that is the wall found for Meg, and that is not how you want to start off your season.
Oh no, disaster there for Megan D. I'll tell you what, that is a absolute rip snorter of a way to start your season in the negative department, that's for sure. She will not be happy. I guarantee you that. Well, Meg, I'll give you the hot tip. When it comes to racing, the only place you don't want to be in the opening stint of any race is dead set at the back of the pack. And it was an unforced error by Meg, so look out. She'll be hot on the collar of anyone else, and it's going to be interesting there. And I'll tell you what, Hammond is not letting the back of Tim Purcell's Ferrari go at all. These guys are literally neck and neck in the best race department. Hammond's just sent a personal best, and the fastest actually, fastest lap of the race if you don't mind, sitting there in fourth place. He is on a charge with 2 mandatory tyre stops as well. This could be interesting for anyone to get their hammer on and start doing a bit of Lewis Hamilton with the hammer time. There's probably little to no tyre degradation by the time these guys come through for their pit stops. It's all going to be down to tyres and fuel saving, I would say. Maybe we'll see something we saw in LMU the other night. Wowee, that was incredible when we saw that. A 6th place getter coming through and taking the chockies. Is something going to happen tonight? Lindsay Muddle, about that? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see who comes into the pit lane first. We already have 2 people in the pit lane, Meg D and Sam Austin as well in the pit lane.
ARB.
So they're already having to take their first swing at it with the pit stops. Meg forced just a little bit with the damage, but Hammond is putting the pressure onto the back of Purcell, but undercuts and overcuts will play a crucial part in tonight's race, because when do you want to pit? Do you want to try and pit early, get your tyres up to pressure and go and get past the car in front of you without even having to overtake them on the track? Or do you want to be the one that gets undercut and try use the fact that you don't have to warm up your tyres to hold the place? It's all things that these drivers are going to be thinking about as they head through the laps over the course of these 70 minutes of Laguna Seca, and the first pit stops are definitely going to set the tone for the end of the race, because we'll know roughly then when everybody else is going to have to pit. So I think that is the biggest talking point tonight. But the on-track action isn't slowing down with Will Hammond in hot pursuit of Purcell, but Purcell showing some extremely impressive pace at the moment, with Mags then sitting behind Hammond by quite a way. So pit stop strategy is going to play crucially for people who have fallen back to get right back into the racing action.
Yeah, so we've already seen Sam Austin and Meg D take their first pit stops, and pretty wise of Meg D just coming a proper there and coming in and getting out of any lap traffic and taking the first pit stop of the night. As you said, I'll tell you what, Top Gear himself is all over the back here of Purcell. I reckon these boys know exactly what is going on in each other's head. They seem to be neck and neck in the pace department. It is 2 of the same manufacturers fighting over the chockies here, the final lap on the final place on the podium, and it's going to be Pressure Point Motors. Tim Purcell is getting hounded by Will Hammond, and they're both neck and neck. They're both setting exactly the same lap times as they basically were the last time around. So a little bit of a closer gap there now for Hammond over Purcell. Is he going to get a bit of a suck down the front straight? No, he's too far away, but a dive under braking could be there. It's not. I think Tim Purcell saw that coming, and I think he's overdone the exit. Yes, he has. Oh, this is exciting stuff. Now we've got a sniff here, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you what, if you're a drug addict, you know what sniffing's about. Tim Purcell is getting sniffed from behind with Will Hammond. I guarantee you these two are now looking at each other thinking, I need to defend here. One's going, I'm going to make you make a mistake, an unforced error. And these guys not letting each other go. Only 0.4 of a second between them. Wowee, Ferrari versus Ferrari. Setup versus setup. What are we going to see between these two in the coming laps? And I think that was Alice there that's just made a little bit of an error. That gap is decreased from 3rd and 4th coming up onto 2nd place. Will Breno Alice make his debutant season here onto the 2nd step, the top step, or the 3rd step of the podium? We've got an hour and 3 minutes left to go. Anyone knows?
And I think the one thing about this battle with Purcell and Hammond as well is the fact that they might be in the same car, so you'd imagine the tyre wear to be similar, but setup difference could play a key role in when they have to pit and how much tyre they have left at the end of a stint. And it also depends on which of these two is pushing more than the other, and I'd happen to say that Purcell looks like he's pushing very hard out in front to hold on to the place from Hammond, who showed the nose down into turn 1 just a lap ago, and Purcell went wide, which couldn't be good for his tyres, but this time around Hammond isn't as close as he was, so he isn't going to show the nose, but he's hot in pursuit of Purcell, and these two just not giving it an inch. But it looks like Purcell takes a completely different line to Hammond down at turn 1 and just gets a bit of a worse exit to cover off the entry. Whether that's because he has a car behind him or not, we don't really know, but it's something that we could keep an eye on over the course of this race.
Well, yeah, when you see exactly how they're driving, we've got a bit of oversteer. Maybe some guys like oversteer in the back of their car and a little bit of understeer vice versa. It's going to come to play, because when you can't turn that car in, if you're an oversteery kind of guy, likes the car very pointy on the nose, a little bit loose in the rear end, that can definitely give you some pace advantage early on, but hurt you later on in the session. And if you're an understeer guy, you literally want the car to just sail its way through the corner and then power out of the exit. It's going to be interesting to see, and you can see the different driving styles coming ever so closer. There is Purcell. Oh no, Hammond. Sorry, on Purcell. They're looking very, very racy, these two guys, not giving each other a millimetre. Only 0.4 of a second. Oh, there's the error! That's what we were looking for, and it's happened, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you what, that is Tim Purcell getting overtaken, and Will Hammond, top gear indeed, smashed his way through that, and that was all it took there. One unforced error, 0.4 of a second advantage to Tim Purcell has turned into a 6/10 disadvantage, so he's lost 1 second alone by dipping 2 and a bit wheels off into the bunda, and he's lost all of the momentum that he had. That pressure was ever so developing, and Will Hammond, cracking stuff from yourself there, mate. That was a absolute pressure point move there, taking advantage of any unforced error. Now you got a bit of clear track in front of you. Go after Breno Ellis.
Oh, speaking of, Breno's gone off the track, and that is Will Hammond up into second place. So one driver making a mistake, and now another, and Will Hammond moves up into second place, and Purcell goes down the inside of Ellis. There was a little bit of contact there at the apex, and that is Purcell also getting the place. Breno's had an absolute mare of things, and Will Hammond the biggest winner of this situation for the lot. That is what pressure can do to some drivers, but Ellis was driving out on his own, trying to keep up with Steve Reese out in the lead by 2.5 seconds, and he's just crumbled under the pressure, and now he has a Ferrari, but this time it's a green one out in front of him of Purcell that he has to chase. The Porsche biting back, doing typical Porsche things. Now he's going to have to get his head down and go again, but surely his tyres will just be a little bit overheated by the fact that he just took an excursion off the racetrack, but a lot of mistakes going on here currently at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, definitely, and you can see unforced errors coming to a fruition, not wanting what you want to see. But I'll tell you what, this man himself up 3 positions from where he started. 5th is top gear himself, and now he's going to try and chase down Stephen Rees out in front by a good 4.4 seconds, even that nearly 5 seconds as well. And Stephen Rees just having an absolute cruise control motor sort of race at the moment, just sitting out there. 122.205 is his best lap of the session, and you can see 122.237 is Will Hammond. So he's got the pace when he needs to, but can he keep that advantage up into his own fruition? I reckon it's going to be something to behold. And as we can see here, Breno Ellis is now all over the back once more of Tim Purcell. They're both fighting tooth and nail, one mistake each, and they're back on each other's bumpers and wheelhouses. I'll give you the hot tip. Liking all of that. Makoulos has come a proper somewhere, and he is out. Makoulos is out. He's in the pits. We're not sure what happened. We might actually have to have a look there and see what happened to him. No, he's just bailed it off into the bunda, and that is it for his replay session. See you later. And unfortunately, we've got a situation for the Greek god who is not wanting to be where he is. The replay is not showing up there, unfortunately, to see what happened to him. Maybe just a hardware error. Hopefully he can get back into it at some stage. Yeah,
hopefully, and hopefully that isn't the end of his race, but being in the Audi definitely had the odds stacked against him as well, so it was really brave for him to come and race tonight, and he was doing a really good job of it, so hopefully that wasn't mechanical failure that led him to be stuck in the pit lane at this current stage. But now we are looking back at Breno Ellis and Tim Purcell as they continue to fight away, but I think the one thing we're noticing here with Breno Ellis is the fact that he has the pure pace. He always does in the Porsche, but it's a car that very much bites back, the engine right over the rear of the car, causing some major problems and definitely giving him some things to think about, and the car definitely being very snappy and a bit of a handful as well, whereas Tim Purcell, engine right over the midsection of the car, nice and balanced, the Ferrari, and that's what makes it such a likable car from pro drivers and new drivers alike. It's just such an inviting car.
Yeah, definitely. And when it comes to Porsches, I'll tell you what, it takes absolute guts to drive these cars, especially at Bathurst, where it is very, very much a front-wheel drive advantageous track with all the bumps and the inertia corners that the Porsche gives you. With that the engine heavily at the back, it's very, very taily at the best of times, but doing a very, very good job. Here's Breno Ellis there to stick it where he needs to be. Unfortunately, from second place back to where he started on the grid to start the race in fourth place, but I think he's going to get his head back in. The red mist has descended and, actually evaporated, and taken himself back into the green eye monster himself in front of him in the Ferrari, the Pit Viper. Ferrari livery of Tim Purcell, and he's gaining every second. We can see here he was 1.2 seconds away on the last lap. Now he's only 0.8 away. So closing in ever so closely is the man, the myth, the legend himself. We'll ride on board with him to see what the different lines are between the two of them in Breno Ellis and Tim Purcell. They're looking very racy, so we can see the Ferrari just going half defensive there. Now back onto the racing line. Ellis just taking the normal racing line, gets that apex nailed onto the power already into third gear, racing his way up into the uphill section of Laguna Seca again. Fourth gear holds it just back into third, dips it there down to 160 Ks, up into fourth again. And just a little bit of a pace advantage there for the Ferrari over the Porsche. Gaining 2/10 was Tim Purcell over Breno, but we can see what he can do in the grand scheme of things. Is there an advantageous place here on the track between the Porsche and the Ferrari? If anything, I'm going to say it's these corners here where you really, really want a rear-engine car to point the nose in, get it turned, and absolutely slip angle your way through any corner. They're doing an excellent job, and you can see again 2/10 gained there for Ellis, and it's gaining himself there. He gets the very, very last sector done excellently, right where that Porsche comes into itself. Anytime you can see that happening, it's very, very informative about what different cars do, mid-engine versus rear-engine. It's incredible to see. Heavily under brakes, Craigland style. Here's Breno Ellis, cracking driving here from the both of them, keeping it clean, mean, and exactly where they need to be.
Yeah, this battle is going to go on for the rest of the race, I would imagine, unless pit stops really make a difference in it. They're such similarly paced, these two, and the battle is looking awesome at the moment. It looks sector by sector as to who's quicker. It looks like the third sector, Breno's quicker. The first sector, it's a bit interchangeable, but it looks like through the middle sector is where the Ferrari really finds its time. But maybe not on this lap, as Breno looks like he is just closing in a little bit, but that's the difference in driving style and car as well. It really plays into the fact that this track is such a monster. You have to be dead on with the precision at this racetrack, and that is what both of these cars try and provide, but in different ways. And I think that both of these drivers are managing it extremely well. But it looks like Breno's just darting towards the apexes a little bit earlier, and then prioritizing getting on the power early as Purcell makes a little bit of a mistake. But we see just there, that is why Breno gained so much time through this sector. It just looks so on the nose as he heads through the final sector. It just turns exactly where he wants it to go. As he shows the nose at the final corner, he gets a little bit alongside. That forces Purcell to go wide, and that's a brilliant move there from Breno Ellis. Perfect pressure putting there, and he puts the nose in and through, and that is exactly what showing the nose can do when you're in the middle of a race. Purcell is going to be absolutely fuming that he's let that little trick work.
Yeah, you can see just a little bit out of rhythm there for Purcell. He was looking very racy, but two corners, all it took for him to find himself out of that static rhythm that you think you're in at a racing track. And these guys now are absolutely going hammer and tong. I think Breno Ellis just knew that something was going to happen there, and if Breno could keep himself onto the slip angle, the apex nailing, the brake, the throttle tracing, you name it, he's going to be galloping away here. And Purcell has definitely got the red mist in his helmet. You can see now Ellis has been released somewhat already, a second over a half distance of a lap over Tim Purcell. That is some pace advantage right there. Maybe the Porsche are a little bit easier on the tyres when it comes to managing when you can get those temps up and down onto the rear tyre, onto the front tyre as well. And it's definitely going to be one of those races, as Lindsay said, I guess maybe a tooth and nail kind of situation when we see guys just driving their ass off and then the next minute holding up, and then one person making one mistake, and there you go. That goes a position, seesawing back and forth, cracking stuff from the both of them. And I'll tell you what, it's happening here, but it's also happening between Tonkin and Zoo at the moment. I'll tell you what, these guys are not letting go of each other, and be it a little bit behind at the race pace. Nathan Henderson's gone up 3 places from the start. That Nissan Skyline coming into fruition for the best part of the race, Lindsay.
Yeah, it's very quick in a straight line, which is what gives it the edge in the race. You can just overtake anybody you get your car up to the back to. You just get into an acceleration zone, you just drive away, and that really helps here at Laguna Seca. You have that big uphill section towards the corkscrew, like we saw on lap 1. He just drove up the hill and drove past the cars, and if these two that we're looking at right now, with Zoo and Tonkin begin to battle, that could allow Henderson to catch right up, and we could see some more Nissan GTR activities, as this hill exactly is where it gains all of its time. You just see it creeping up behind you with all of its power it has, and it's very, very scary to see in the mirrors with the size of the thing. Godzilla for a reason, that Nissan GTR. But Zoo's finding himself under a bit of pressure from Tonkin, but the Porsche McLaren fight is very interesting. The McLaren loves to take the corners at maximum speed possible, but it falls off a little bit when you get to the straights, whereas the Porsche is just all about cornering, and then when you get to the straights, it's a little bit dead. But we're seeing that it's pretty much a dead heat between these two through the third sector. No time losing or gaining for either of them at the moment.
No, definitely not. It's very even, Steven, and I'm liking to see that, because this will play into battle in the closing stages of the race. The tyre deg is coming into fruition, ladies and gentlemen. I can guarantee you we are a good 20 minutes into this race, and it's only a matter of time before a couple of guys come into the pits, I reckon, and freshen up those tyres with 2 mandatory pit stops. If you add that over the 70 minutes, that's only about 35 minutes per stint, really, before you have to come in, unless you can tyre manage. That is the question. Can you tyre manage? I'll tell you what, these guys are not letting go of each other, and who is going to come out as the tyre king, maybe even the fuel king, is anyone to know. But that Godzilla is creeping up in the background ever so quickly over the cities of the Ferrari and the Porsche in front of him, and you can see that car coming to life. Albeit these guys are the closest battle on the track here. Purcell, however, is not letting go of the back of Brenner Ellis there, 1.3 seconds behind him also, but 0.8 now with Henderson and Tonkin. It's ever getting closer there between those two. Wow, geez, what a battle we're going to see here. It's brewing, ladies and gentlemen. It's just that little time in the race where it kind of gets to a little bit of a stalemate, and you think something is going to happen here, and it looks like it's starting to happen here for Hendo. He's got that car dialed in now, that Skyline now pacing its way down the straight. The horsepower advantage is absolutely king here down the front straightaway, uphill and then downhill, and he's gapped that little bit, only 0.2 of a second if you don't mind between them, but he's hugging the inside line trying to get that car pointed in the nose a little bit understeer, I would say, is the Skyline compared to the two cars in front of him. Nose heavy always guarantees you a bit of tyre degradation on the front, but you can see there the pressure is coming, because Tonkin is now finding a little bit of a gravel trap there, here or there. That's 2 times in a row now in 2 corners. He is seeing something happening, and you can find out in the rear vision mirror, because that car, that Nissan Skyline, is getting ever so closer in the rear vision mirror, Lindsay Muddle.
Yeah, and this is the part of the track where it closes so much. You'll just see up the hill, it just drives off the corner, and you just see it climb the speed as fast as it can. And look at that, it has closed up to the McLaren quite significantly, and I'd love to see an onboard as it heads through a lap of Laguna Seca, as it just there's the onboard and the snappiness of the GTR coming out on full display. A full lap of the GTR is very, very treacherous. You've got to work at the wheel as much as you possibly can to get this thing to work. You're always having to steer actively in this thing, otherwise it will bite right into the sand that surrounds this circuit, as then you head down the straight, just climbing up the gears, always roaring away in the Nissan as he's trying to close up to the back of Tonkin, but currently he has closed up a little bit, but not as much as he needs to begin racing. But through turn 1, a little bit of understeer. He takes a different line, and that is the type of car it is. A lot more weight to it, a lot less cornering speed you can take in this car, and I think that reflects in the lines you see as he heads through the lap, snapping away on the exit. That is the nature of the Nissan GTR as he heads onto the power zone. And now you just see it ever so slightly closing and closing and closing to the McLaren as it pushes along, and this is where we'll see the real gain. Through here powers, and then you get to an uphill section where it just closes and closes, and look at that, look at the time he's gained already just up the hill, and then you'll see the big steep hill here. It's just going to close. You'll see the back of the McLaren will get bigger and bigger and bigger on your screen as he gets closer and closer. And look at it, he's right up the back of Tonkin as he heads into the braking zone, and the Nissan just absolutely flying.
Definitely there. That's incredible stuff and great commentary there yourself, Lindsay Muddle. Fantastic to see. Ronald Marshall's in the chat saying car 17 is driving well at this point in time. I'll tell you what, it's definitely on right there. I'll tell you what, Ron Marshall, you're a good engineer at the best times, and also a great observation of the racing department. And this battle is now closing, Lindsay. Sorry, excuse me. The Godzilla is closing in, but also at the same time, I think here we've got a three-way battle brewing because Zoo is absolutely struggling with that Porsche, and you can see it now. He has lost all momentum, fully on the anchors there. That rear sliding around. The what do they call it? The pendulum effect of the Porsche is now coming into fruition. Those tyres are probably getting to the singing for high heaven stage at this moment because he tried to get it pulled up into turn 2, could not get that job done. And now we've got a three-way battle. The Godzilla of Henderson sitting right behind, looking patiently to see if these guys battle at the moment to take one position or maybe two if it comes to that stage. But we can see from the rear vision mirror here across the top wing of the Porsche that now at the advantageous part of the circuit for the Porsche, these guys are now neck and neck in the pace department. No errors here at the moment for Zoo. But I'll tell you what, look at that. Understeer for the Porsche is coming into play. The McLaren and the Ferrari and the Godzilla looking very, very racy. And these guys are not going to give each other an inch. Three-way battle coming away. 0.4 of a second and 1 second. Only 1.5 seconds away. And in comes Hendo to the pits. So Henderson's in. That is one to make a look out for. Breno Ellis is also in the pits there too. So the first of the pit stops coming our way. 46 minutes left in the race of an hour and 10. Gone. So that is all but 35 minutes between each stint, and that is going to be exciting to see here. What are these guys going to do? And you can see Zoo is there absolutely struggling to get it pulled up into turn 1. That is his absolute Achilles heel at the moment in the grand scheme of things. I'll tell you what, Zoo is under pressure. He's going to have to come into the pit surely because Tonkin is now all over him, and you can see that tail wagging more and more as the racing goes on here between the two of these guys, and the Porsche struggling for a bit of lap traffic, and I reckon we're going to see a couple more pit stops coming our way.
Yeah, and I reckon that's why we saw Breno Ellis come into the pit lane as well, his fellow Porsche on the grid, coming in nice and early, just trying to get the undercut before the car truly drops away on the pace scale. He just pitted, and now he's back underway racing in. I think we're going to see Zoo do the same thing in a couple of moments' time. He's sliding all the way through in the mechanical corners of this circuit. And I think that is really showing. We saw it at turn number 1, where he just had that massive snap and then ran wide as well. And then Tonkin tried to show the nose, but he was just able to get back across. And it's really showing as he is going to peel off to the left. But so's the McLaren as well. Tonkin follows him in. And that is big here for this race as they head through the hairpin at the entry of the pit lane. And they get ready. And who is going to beat each other out of the pit lane, if at all? Let's see how it goes.
We're going to stick on board here. You can see every single person within the top 6 is now in the pits. And Stephen Rees is probably going to come out very, very shortly. He was a good 4 or 5 seconds in front, so don't worry about him. But the battle that we're looking at is between Zoo and Purcell. I'll tell you that. They're looking very, very racy. Hammond's in too. So three-way battles coming our way. Off we go. That is definitely... Oh, Stephen Rees has just got out in front at the moment. Wow, he is now in front, and then look right behind him there. Here's Hammond all over him like a fly to a piece of the proverbial at the in the second half of this race coming our way. This is going to be very, very interesting. A long stop there for Stephen Rees. Maybe an error or two there, Lindsay. I'm not too sure why, but that gap now very, very close indeed. It was 5 seconds. Now it is all but 1.3. What can the Mr. Top Gear himself do over to Livery King in front? And we'll go back and see what happened between all of our battling compatriots behind us as well as we come out of the pits. Here comes Zoo. Henderson's rounding the turn 1 as well, and Zoo has got the undercut done. That is, overcut, sorry, is more powerful here at Laguna Seca than the undercut. Very, very interesting, Lindsay.
Well, you say that, but then Tonkin, where is he on the track? Because it looks like Henderson got through on the McLaren he was chasing, and Tonkin only going through turn number 3. So it looks like the undercut is better in some cars and the overcut is better in others, but it looks like in the Nissan, the undercut works pretty well against a McLaren, but not so much against a Porsche. So it's really interesting to see, but fuel also plays a factor into this as well. And I think that is what caused the 1 and 2 cars to get so closed up. I think that Steve-O just took a little bit more fuel during his pit stop, I'd happen to say, because you don't gain 5 seconds from absolutely nothing during a pit stop. And I think the gap as well from Zhu to Henderson speaks volumes as well, because Tonkin taking that extra time in the pit lane clearly shows that he's taken some fuel, I reckon.
Yeah, well, it was a 28.1 second stop total for in the pits for Stephen Rees, and then a 28.4 as time standing still, but it was 32 versus 36 seconds overall between Hammond and Rees in the pits. So a little bit to look in our brains there. I'll give you the hot tip for all of that. But Bruno Alice, the quickest person in the pit, actually, ladies and gentlemen, overall in terms of fuel managing and whatnot, was John Zhu. He only spent 32.1 seconds in the pits. So that is also something to think about in the fuel scheme of things as well. What can we see from him in the Porsche is little to known. The gap of all the field is spread out, bar 1 and 2 at the moment. Hammond is not giving Stephen Rees any leeway here at the moment. I'll tell you what, he's definitely pushing on that outlap on the tyres. Will that hurt him in the later stages of this stint? Who knows how aggressive he's been on the curbs, off the curbs, onto the gravel, whatnot, because those pressures need to come up to temperature in a nice, easy way on the GT3 tyres. They are very, very unstable when you come to pushing too early, running over all of the things on the track, and rubble too actually makes a little bit of a difference if you don't mind. But I'll tell you what, Hammond, Top Gear himself, is very, very racy. 1 second between first and second here. Maybe a fuel difference, I reckon Lindsay is probably predicting the pace here between the two of them. A little bit less fuel on board for Hammond, but was that his go at the start? Hence why he was a little bit further down the grid. Bit of cat and mouse happening here. Never ends on the racing grid here at SimSational TV, does it, Lindsay Muddle?
No, I think I'd happen to agree with you as well. I think the massive fuel difference is why Steve-O was able to run away. We saw him have a massive gap in qualifying, but then in the race, it was even bigger lap to lap to lap. He got 5 seconds over the next car, and now it's really showing why. I think that a lot less fuel, but Ronald Marshall, once again, being the top observer here, saying the second pit stops are going to be interesting. That is dead on, because now we don't know what fuel each car's on once again, and the theorizing resets and goes again, because fuel was something that was in the back of our minds, but I didn't think it was going to make that much of a difference, but it really is currently. Will Hammond all over the back of Steve Rees at the moment. This battle for P1 is on like Donkey Kong as we head into 30 minutes through this race.
Oh, geez, 30 minutes already. It just flies here, ladies and gentlemen. We're only about 15 minutes, 20 minutes probably away for another pit stop on the tyres. So these guys probably won't be going as hard. They won't be going as easy on the tyres as they were in the first stint, because they've got another pit stop to make, and it's got to be tyres. That's exactly what's happened. So will we see what we think is going to happen? A bit of tumbling and falling from Mr. Stephen Rees out in front. Is Will Hammond going to keep his way right there within 0.8 of a second to 1 second, as he has done for the last 4 or 5 laps here after the pit stop? It's anyone's guess. Stephen Rees feeling a little bit of a pressure, I reckon, here, unless he is the most cool as an Eskimo's tool under the collar. We'll never know here in the grand scheme of things, but tell you what, they're looking very, very racy, these two, nonetheless. Two same cars, same manufacturers, same spec, all up to the driver and the setup behind the wheel. That makes a difference. And it looks like Stephen Rees here still commanding the lead, albeit by 1 second. And a big, huge gap of 9 seconds between first and second. Back to Bruno Alice. Wowee. What an absolute sensational situation we've got here for P1 and 2. I reckon an even between P5, 6 and 7 by the time the net pit stops come around. That's going to be incredible.
Yeah, and I think that it's just going to heat up more and more and more as this stint goes on. And then the final pit stop will have us all sitting on the edge of our seats, as we don't know what we're looking at fuel-wise. But I'd imagine coming into the final pit stops, it could be pretty similar fuel-wise, as they all just need 20 minutes to get to the end. So it's going to be fascinating to see if they do pit with 20 minutes to go, or some of them pit earlier or later. That is going to be the main difference in fuel, I reckon, as we come into the final pit stops. But nothing as big as we saw in the opening pit stop of the race in my observation. But Will Hammond pushing Steve along right now. He's used to being under pressure from his championship rival in Fargo and Matty, but normally it's a Mustang sitting behind him, so maybe a sigh of relief here that he doesn't have to deal with just getting driven away from when he heads towards the straight. It's just a driver-to-driver battle here, and it's going to be all to play for as we head into the final 40 minutes of this race, and what a spectacle it is here.
Yeah, definitely. You never, ever get any bad, boring, lazy, dominating racing here at SimSational TV. It never lets you down, and it's a credit to the drivers on track. I'll give you the hot tip. If you are loving what you are seeing at the moment too, I reckon you guys need to press that like button, press that subscribe button as well, and get on board with everything, because here at SimSational TV, we love a good subscription. If you're not subscribed already, give us something as well. We really appreciate it. And hit that bell button to see when we are back on stream as well. And you can see Will Hammond here doing his best impression of making himself a race winner tonight. Second quickest, and overall quickest in the second sector on that previous lap. The two guys in front here that we're looking at, they are only split by 1200ths of a second on their best laps, and it's Will Hammond who has set the fastest lap, a 1:22.030 versus a 1:23.042 in Stephen Ree's department. So nothing in it between these two. These guys are not letting go of each other. Will Hammond is probably in the prime seat as a racer myself. You can see just in front of you where exactly they're braking and where they need to pull up, and you start to do a bit of monkey see, monkey do style, and just gauging in that brain where you can push the car, where you can't push it, the limits of grip and adhesion. And every lap you educate yourself subconsciously, I guarantee you that. And I think Will Hammond here as learning as he goes around Laguna Seca off the best man in front of him, Stephen Rees, and still nothing in it. 0.7, 0.8 of a second. Just they're not letting go of each other. It's incredible to see around this track how you can be so consistent and be in with each other's wheelhouse under a second away, following lap after lap after lap. Only one mistake here from Stephen Rees is going to be the difference, I reckon, between Hammond taking either second place or first place over the rest of the field. The second pit stop, though, ladies and gentlemen, is probably about 15 minutes away, I would say, Lindsay. And that will definitely stir up some competition and some racing order here. With the field spread out bar the front two, that's going to spice things up.
Yeah, and I'd happen to agree with you. I reckon it's going to be a whole topsy-turvy situation when we come into the pit stops. We're going to not know where every driver is going to come out. And will Hammond try and undercut or an overcut strategy on Steve Rees is crucial, because he's all over the back of the Ferrari, but he hasn't gotten super close. So is he going to try and just get by without him any point during this little fight that they're having? I think that is the biggest question in my head, at least, that I want answered. I want to know if Will Hammond's going to try and attack this one on the racetrack or not. That's what we're here to find out as they head up towards the hill. This is where Will Hammond made a bit of a mistake last lap and dropped back a little bit, but he closed it up right through this section. He seems really strong coming up towards the corkscrew. That's where he seems to gain just a little bit of time on Steve-O as he head through the corkscrew. Look at the elevation change here on the front bumper camera of Will Hammond. He's giving it his absolute all here as he's closing in on Stephen Rees. The gap only 0.5 of a second currently.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll tell you what, these guys are not giving each other 1 millimetre. A little bit of oversteering moment there is going to cost one another 0.3, 0.2 per corner. And that's all it needs to be in the grand scheme of things. You can see on the helicam here just how close they are on track. They're racing at 230 kilometres an hour, ladies and gentlemen, as they come into the first corner here at Laguna Seca, the first major corner anyway, officially turn 2 itself. But these guys not giving each other 1 millimetre of room. And I think Will Hammond here is probably going to be thinking a little bit wiser. He's going to get a little bit hot under the collar, sticking that close to the rear wing of Stephen Rees' car. But I think in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to matter too much with the tyre deg. Not really an issue, with probably 10 minutes before we see the next pit stop come from these lap leaders at the race. It's leading pack, in fact. We will see a full-on sprint to the end, as Ron Marshall predicted. It's going to be very, very interesting come that sector of the race. But I'll tell you what, we're going to get off these guys. We've been on them for a while, and rightly so, mind you. But we can see here that Alex Tonkin is getting a little bit closer to the back end of that Godzilla in front of him, of Nathan Hendo. and looking very, very racy at the moment of these two, I guarantee you that. But Tonkin now within 1 second. That gap's been closing down, but it's still something we need to look at, because it's only 0.4 of a second away. As we look away from the leading pack, it's back to all battling on here. Half a second, if that, between the two of them. Bit of suckage down the front straight away here for Will Hammond, maybe. He's up 3 places from where he's qualified there. He's qualified in 5th, and now he's in 2nd place, battling Stephen Rees on the front position here for the race at Laguna Seca. They're looking very, very racy, these two. I guarantee you the pit stop is going to be everything. Who's going to take on more fuel? Who's got less fuel? We'll see what can happen, but only 0.6 of a second between the two of them. It's incredible racing to watch these guys just circulate around on the absolute ragged edge of grip adhesion here in GT3 class. 2 Ferraris going out in front of it. I'll tell you what, as a Formula 1 supporter, Lindsay, and to the viewers out there, this is where I wish Ferrari was on the grid. Maybe something coming this way in 2025 coming my way, I'm not too sure, but it's all happening here at Laguna Seca. It is now on like absolute Donkey Kong here for the last 32 minutes and 21 seconds of the race. It's going to be neck and neck by the time we finish this, I would hope.
Yeah, it is going to be a sprint race to the end now with 32 minutes remaining. It may as well be a Ferrari challenge race here, as they are both in the Ferrari GT3 car. It is equal here as they go hammer and tong, lap in, lap out here at Laguna Seca. It is absolutely awesome to watch these two on the limit of grip, as you were saying, Zach O'Reilly. They are just giving it absolutely everything that they can, and I think it's going to come down to the absolute wire here when we get to the end of the race. We're only 27 laps in to this race, and they still got plenty of racing action to go, probably another 20-ish laps to go here, if I had to hazard a guess. And it is not looking like it's showing any signs of slowing down as they push further and further into this race. Will Hammond has dropped back just a little bit from Steve-O at this point, but he's still trying to close back in, and that time has been like a yo-yo going up and down. It was within 0.4 of a second, then it goes back out to 1 second, then half a second later, it's back within a second. So they are just different pace at different sectors of this racetrack. Thus is the difference in setup and driving style, and it's really showing here. The two Ferrari 296s driving very, very differently here in the dying stages, and just looking at it lap after lap, you notice slight differences between the two of their lines constantly, and you just keep noticing more and more things. And I'm sure the two drivers are also analysing the car in front of them, realising what they're doing differently, and they probably try it lap in, lap out, different things, trying to see if they can pull away. Right now, it looks like Steve-O might have found a golden ticket, as he has actually managed to stay outside that 0.8 of the car behind range currently, and it's expanding as it goes through the end of the lap. But Will Hammond definitely not far away by any stretch of the imagination.
No, and you can only guess, ladies and gentlemen, you can only guess on what is going to happen between these two at the end of the race. It's still one more pit stop to go, and with 1 second now between the two of them, maybe a little bit of an unforced error there from Hammond, or Steve just managing his tyres earlier on in the stint, now saving all of that grip adhesion, and now coming to the advantageous stage at the end of this pit stop period, and maybe taking a little bit of the chockies away there from Will Hammond. Will Hammond, literally like a gynecologist at the moment. He can smell it, but he can't taste that victory at this point in time. That's all he needs to do, is get within half a second, as he was 4 laps ago, of Stephen Rees, to put the pressure back on. But I'll tell you what, in the grand scheme of things, Stephen Rees is all eyes forward. He is all eyes forward at the moment, and he's setting the quickest lap of the race, 1 minute 21.920 versus a 122.030, so 1.1 tenths away is Will Hammond in the grand scheme of things in the pace department, and we're just seeing that now. A little bit of oversteer correction there for Hammond, mid-corner, nosing it in nicely. That is an awesomely cambered corner in real life. You nearly tilt your head to a 45-degree angle. Doesn't show you there on the racetrack here. There's a set of course of competency on there, but Will Hammond now 1.3 seconds away, and that gap is increasing a little bit. And Penderson has come into the pits, if you don't mind. So he's just coming out, and now he's coming back onto the racetrack, albeit in 9th place. So the Godzilla has pitted early from 7th place. Still, albeit 1 position better than where he started, thanks to a little bit of some ostentatious stuff going between himself and Steve Austin. But now we're seeing the first of the last tyre stints coming out, 28 minutes and 40 seconds left in the race. Steve Austin will want to be getting on into the pit lane if he possibly can to get his gallop on. But Hendo is trying the undercut here on Meg D and Jacob Mag Wheels in front of him at this point in time. What can we see? 28 minutes now, spicing up, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're getting into the rip snorting area of the race. I tell you what, Lindsay, this is where we start to get the heart rate up. The octaves start to get a little bit higher in the commentary box. What are we going to see here? Hammond and Reese, V1 still on.
Yeah, and the gap is just closing and expanding. But the real question is, now we've seen the first of the pit stops, will we see more cars follow that trend and begin the final pit stop period of the race? And the even bigger question is, who's going to blink first between the two that we have in our sights currently? Steve Reese and Will Hammond. Which one of them is going to pit first? Who's going to take more fuel? Who's going to have to take less fuel? It's all of the questions that race through our heads as we watch the racing, and I'm sure it's going through the drivers' heads as well. It's what they're thinking about all of the time as they head through Laguna Seca lap by lap by lap. It gets closer and further between these guys as they do their thing and drive around this circuit as fast as they possibly can. But they've got blue flag traffic ahead of them now, and that could cause some problems if they're not careful. It's an Aston Martin, and it is Sam Austin, and that could play an interesting part here in the dying stages. No, it's not. He's going to get it out of the way as a blue flag car is expected to, and that is a nice, respectful bit of driving there from Sam Austin. And now the leaders will battle on, but Steve-O looks like he's found his footing here. 1.5 seconds, and it looks like it's expanding and expanding as we go further on, but the final pit stop could tip it all on its head once again.
Well, Henderson's in the pits again. Not too sure what happened to him. He is in the pits once more, so maybe speeding on pit entry. Penalty coming Nathan Henderson's way. Just did a drive through there to make sure. So his race is all done and dusted. That has made 3 battle into 2, I would say here. And Megan D, I'll tell you what, she was going to be up there at the start, I reckon, Lindsay Muddle, and just unforced error out of any promising position. In 8th place at the moment, 31 seconds away from the mag wheel in front of them. And I'll tell you what, when it comes to the racing department, still Stephen Rees out in front. Will Hammond in 2nd. Breno Ellis in 3rd. Tim Purcell 4th. Jean Zhu in 5th place. Tonkin, Mags, D, Henderson, and Austin. Round out your grid here. 10 racing left here on the Assetto Corsa Competizione grid here for the Pro Series of ASA. Massive grid coming our way next round. I'll tell you what, there'll be 30-odd cars on the grid, I reckon, by that stage. But that doesn't take away from the racing tonight. It has been neck and neck. These guys at the front, Will Hammond definitely putting the pressure on Stephen Rees early in the stint. Now he's tapered away to 2 seconds in that grand scheme of things. Watching on the last pit delta time there, Lindsay, as well, Stephen Rees had a 4-second longer pit, and now he's 2 seconds in front. Is that going to hamper him in the fuel strategy department and give himself that 6-7 second lead by the time it's all over and done with in the pits? Or is Hammond just going to be one of those dark horses again and come out to take the win over Stephen Rees in the pit stop battles? What is your opinion?
I think my opinion is that I think it's too close to call. We have no idea what's going on in either of these drivers' cockpits right now as they lap around this circuit. Steve-O probably thinks he might have found the golden ticket here as he is over 2 seconds away, but we have no idea how much fuel he has left in his car, and he does. So it's really interesting as Hammond makes a little bit of a mistake there, but cuts back for a later apex. That's not the line that we've seen him take in laps following, but I think that these two up the front are going to end up battling in the final few laps. I think that this gap we're seeing could be fuel as Breno Ellis comes into the pit lane, but it's anybody's guess as to how this race is going to go. Let's see how long Breno Ellis' pit stop is.
He's up to 29 seconds as we speak here. He's now at 32, 33 coming up now, 34. This is a long pit stop here for Ellis. It's incredibly long, nearly at 40 seconds before he gets moving. What are we going to see here from the man himself? He's falling down the grid at the rate of knots. He's down in 6th place now. Alex Tonkin, where is he on the racetrack? He is about to come out somewhere and done, overtaken him as well. So Breno Ellis has lost a couple of places there. He's gone from 3rd all the way down to 7th in the pit stop battle. That was a long pit stop for him. That is a 32-second stop, sat down, and 28 traversing the lane itself. So A longer stop there for Breno Ellis in the gold Porsche, but I reckon he won't be too far off. Alex Tonkin just rounding into the second half of the circuit here. By the time everyone does their pit stops, it's going to be on like Donkey Kong. Where's Stephen Rees on the track? There he is now. Where is he on the track? He has rounded the final turn, the second turn, sorry. He's going around one more time. So is Will Hammond as well. Tim Purcell is still going around also. So the top three yet to pit. John Zhu also yet to pit here. He's still rounding the final turn as well in the Porsche. So this is going to be interesting. Where is Breno Ellis going to come out in the grand scheme of things? By the time it's all over, these guys are now at least 4 or 5 tenths off their personal best delta in terms of pace in the top 4. And Breno Ellis at the moment still trying to find his rhythm, get those tyres up to temp, get somewhere back onto the racetrack. And I reckon it could be a Porsche versus Ferrari battle at the end of this if everything comes to fruition. Purcell, however, looking very, very racy and still yet to pit in the far gone livery, Pit Viper livery, sorry. This is going to be interesting. Breno Ellis pitted, and now we've got Purcell yet to pit.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting battle to heat up here in the dying stages. Steve Rees is into the pit lane. So let's see how long is he going to be in the pits for. This is one of the 2 most important pit stops of the entire race here between Will Hammond and Steve Rees as he now dives into his box. He took a longer pit stop in the first pit stop. Does that mean he is going to take a bit of a longer one now, or is he going to have a shorter one now? It's all to find out here. Hammond had 2.3 seconds to Steve-O on the pit lane entry, and now it is all going to come down to this. How long is he going to be in his pit box? He has to take tyres. We know that. It's a mandatory tyre stop, but will it be anything else for Steve-O? Will he even take fuel? Maybe he put quite a bit of fuel in the car so he didn't have to take it later on. It's all the questions that could be going on. Steve-O dropping down third in the field. Tim Purcell is also coming to the pit lane, so that's important for the other battle. We were looking at Will Hammond in the lead, and where is Breno Ellis going to come out in regards to Tim Purcell as well? He is heading through the final sector of the racetrack. So this is when all the strategy is going to unfold. This is where all the questions we've been asking will be answered as they head through the penultimate corner. Steve Rees on the pit lane exit, and his pit stop did take just a little bit of time, but not quite as long as his first pit stop. And where is Breno Ellis going to come out in regards to Purcell? Purcell still in the pit lane, and I think that Breno Ellis is going to be racing on the exit. Ellis is through, and by how much?
Oh, long shot there. An absolute long shot there over Breno Ellis. He is now in 6th place. Tonkin has not pitted yet, so that is him out of the question as well. Steve Rees, however, absolutely flying. Look at him. That's where he is on the track in comparison to where Breno Ellis is. So Stephen Rees climbing up towards the corkscrew. Breno Ellis now only rounding turn 4 in the grand scheme of things. So a lot of gap there. But the man, the myth, the legend, Will Hammond, is in the pits now. So this is interesting. He is 36 seconds through his pit stop. I reckon they're about a minute pit stop left to go. Where's Stephen Rees in the grand scheme of things? This is the battle for P1, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you what, Stephen Rees here is hoping to goodness gracious me that Will Hammond is still in the pits by the time he comes around. And we'll ride on board with him to see where he comes out in the grand scheme of things. Still in the pits for Hammond. He has not moved at all. So, Stephen Rees is going to take the chockies here over Will Hammond. Will Hammond now exiting the pits. And there goes Stephen Rees, right flying past him there at 200 mile an hour. And that is the race up and in flames at the moment for Will Hammond. That is going to be a very, very hard place to come out here. Will Hammond just pushing all the way to the edge here. Stephen Rees has got a good 3 and a bit second advantage over Will Hammond here at the moment. 2.8 it's saying on the timing tower there. That's going to expand a little bit because Will Hammond's tyres are cold as an Eskimo's tool at the moment. Looking very, very racy is Stephen Rees. John Zhu is now coming, no, he's not in the pits either. He is still circulating around. Mag Wheels in second place there, effectively yet to pit. But Stephen Rees and Hammond now, the battle is 2.5 seconds. Can Will Hammond get up the back end of Stephen Rees' car? He's pushing at every single corner. Look at the pace he's going. Absolutely 4th gear now. Will he get into 5th? No, he'll hold into 4th, brake into the corkscrew. 2nd gear, 1st gear, absolutely revving the tits off that Ferrari V8 underneath it. And wowee, that is incredible driving here. Stephen Rees versus Hammond battle is on again. Rees He's 2.3 seconds down the road. Already Will Hammond's taken 2/10 away from him on his outlap, if you don't mind, and pushing to the absolute limit, using every millimetre of the track and a bit more there to try and get himself up into that podium position, or maybe even take the race win here. Mags and Zoo in the pits. That is race over and done with for those two. Now it is battling on here for P1 and 2. 2.3 seconds here between our first place getters on the racetrack. What can the can the Top Gear man do in Will Hammond?
He's going to have to push extremely hard. We saw them fight hammer and tong through the whole second stint of this race. Now they're in the third stint, but we saw at the end of the second stint, Steve-O did pull 2.3 seconds of a gap to Will Hammond, and now the gap is still 2.3 seconds. So the pit stops were very similar in timing when it came to the end of the pit stop phase, but now he has 18 minutes to try and close back up to his rival in this race, Steve Reese. Will Hammond has a lot of work to do here as he heads through the final couple of laps of his race. When I say the final couple of laps, I mean he's still got another 17 minutes and 40 seconds to go. So that's quite a while to close up, but not as much as he would have had when the race started. It's not 70 minutes, it's 17. So he's got time stacked against him here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks very, very, very hard at this point in time. I was going to predict in my races helmet on for Will Hammond to make that 2.3 second gap up. If you remember in the qualifying, ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Rees was 6/10 quicker than anyone else in the grand scheme of things, and Will Hammond was a fair way off in that pace department. So when the low fuel comes back into Stephen Rees' hand, I think he's just going to run away from it here, and Will Hammond will probably know that in the back of his mind, but I could be wrong. I'm always a devil's advocate when it comes to commentary, and Will Hammond could be the man, the myth, the legend himself to take over Stephen Rees' P1. 2.5 seconds now, so it's getting ever so further away there for Will Hammond. He can see that victory just slipping at every 10th of a second. 2.6 seconds now, so 10th lost again for Hammond. Oh, gee, Stephen Rees has had an absolute belter tonight. He has not been left thinking at all. I'll tell you what there, Lindsay, he was 6/10 quicker at anyone, and over a course of an hour and an hour and 10 minutes, at 6/10 a lap quicker in qualifying pace, you should be 30 seconds out in front basically, but he's only 2.5 seconds. So I'll tell you what, the race pace of these guys is nothing to think second about. They've definitely got the Ferraris on song here, and everyone else. Breno Alice as well, sitting there in third place now comfortably too, which is fantastic for him. But this battle is the closest one on track, and we need to focus on it, because I reckon a lot of guys in the grand scheme of things in the racing department can see that 2.5 seconds is gettable, but 9.9, 10 seconds, 12, 15, whatever, is a little bit far away. So forgive us if we're just focusing on any unforced errors to come Stephen Rees' way here in this commentary box.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got to do it at the end of the day when you have two cars at the end of the race this close in succession to each other for the win with 15 minutes to go. Anything is possible. The pressure, even though you might think it wouldn't be on for Steve Rees, leading the race at a comfortable pace to keep himself at bay from Will Hammond, who's trying as hard as he can to close up, is more stressful than you might think if you're not too experienced, especially in a set of course competizione. It's an extremely hard simulator to keep the pace on, and that is what makes it so tricky to lead a race. You don't have anybody of reference. You don't have a car in front of you to match the braking, match the lines to. You've just got to push at the best of your ability and hope it's enough. But in Stephen Rees' case, I think it is enough. Yeah,
I reckon you're right there, Lindsay. It is enough. But as you say, you other racing departments like go-karting or very, very close racing like Formula Ford or something like that, you're generally very, very close to a guy in front of you, or a girl, mind you, if you don't mind. And these cars here are just literally all about nailing every apex, nailing the braking markers, getting on the throttle early, and using the traction control to your advantage, because you can map your traction control, ladies and gentlemen, and your ABS as well, to effectively basically just get it in the pointy end. As Stephen Rees just gone bang with a 121.78 as the quickest lap of the race by a good 0.3 of a second over anyone else, and that man right behind him is Will Hammond, who's got the second fastest lap of the race so far. But as I was saying, you need to guide yourself in your own form. You need to look at those deltas. You need to do some analytics as well and see where you're losing time, but when you're gaining time as well, because you can see where you can set the car up. You go, well, I'm really strong through turns 4, 5, 6, 7. but I'm really losing out a little bit in turns 1, 2, and 3. So what can I do? I'll find a happy medium. And that's exactly what everyone here in the Seca Corsa Competizione has to do. And that is why you can see the split between the best and the worst be so far and in between. It's a little bit of a tip there. Just focus on your own driving and your own ability and find a car that you suit down to the ground and race it, not based on preference sometimes. As much as I would love to drive the Aston Martin around, unfortunately, it's not the quickest car. So you'll see me in something else, Lindsay Battle.
Well, I mean, I'm an Aston main myself. I absolutely love the Aston Martin, and I wouldn't say it's the quickest car, as you were saying, but it definitely, with the right driver behind the wheel, can have quite some pace behind it. In fact, you can definitely match the pace of these drivers out here tonight. I think you can run any car almost within reason. Obviously, you can't run the Jag.
Yeah.
But within reason, any of the current cars that you see racing around this circuit can get up to the pace that we're seeing up the front there. But I think it's all about what you prefer in ACC at this current stage. And it's debatably dying stage. Obviously, Assetto Corsa Evo did just release, and that's sitting there hanging over the head of ACC, but it's still giving some absolutely brilliant racing. And with how cars are behaving on track right now, with how close they all are together, excluding the Ford Mustang, it is absolutely fantastic.
Well, as we know, the Ford Mustang itself is actually I'm going to be corrected here. It is a Bullet, but in the wet, it is not the best car. If I am correct there, Lindsay, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're not really wrong. I mean, it's just decent in the rain. It brings it back on par, in my opinion.
Okay, so level playing field, but nonetheless, we did have balance of performance in ACC's versions 1.7, for example, all out of kilter, but they've got it nearly right. And don't worry about Assetto Corsa Evo for now. The best dedicated GT3 simulator in the land is ACC itself, if we can abbreviate here in the fair dinkum department. And this is where exactly we need to be, and this is the best place to be if you want a GT3 race at Assetto Corsa Competizione, that's for sure. Maybe Kino Simulazione can give us some money for giving them a plug here in the grand scheme of things, Lindsay Muddle. But anyway, nonetheless, it is 3.1 seconds now between first and second, and we're watching Breno Alice do it. I reckon here in the last 11 minutes, Lindsay, we're going to watch and see on board exactly how a Porsche drives. And if you viewers out there can stick in your minds exactly how it drives in a front-running car, e.g. a Ferrari, you'll be able to see exactly what happens. And I'll talk you through this lap. You can see here now, really early apexes there for the Porsche, but pointing at and accelerating at the exit of a corner. You've got to really point it into the precise version of your racing line and then accelerate out of the corner, because the rear end steps out on you at any point and given time, with understeer very, very much on the cards unless you power out. This Porsche is a very, very satisfying car to get right at the best of times. And you can see Breno Alice here, super smooth. Like, you can't really drive a Porsche much smoother than this, to be honest. Look at that. Beautiful through the corkscrew there. Just coming down into the dipping double left-hander. And you can see there's not really an oversteery kind of driving style here from Breno. He's looking super strong in that Porsche, just using it to its best ability here at Laguna Seca. There are going to be other tracks where it will come to fruition. I'll give you the hot tip in terms of racing around Laguna Seca, but nothing to do there in the driving style department. And you can see nailing every apex definitely gets you some pace in the grand scheme of things. Then you look at the Ferrari here of Stephen Rees, just leaning on the steering wheel itself, just turning it in smoothly, letting the whole car slide. Being a mid-engine car, it just comes in, and you can see the smoothness there, like not even really turning in, just letting the mid-engine just slide his way around the corner. Is Steve Rees, sorry, and you can see just a little bit off the apex, but the car grips up, because it's got the balance of the car very, very on point in front and rear grip. And you can see here just sliding it on the rear end into the corkscrew itself, down in and turning smoothly. Apex out on the power, just holding it in second gear, now into third. Early apex there for Steve Rees. And the contrasted difference between the driving styles of each driver is one thing, but then the car behavior itself is another. So you can see the amount of wheel input needed for Stephen Rees, just balancing that rear end as we come into the final turn at Laguna Seca and powering out. It's incredible to see. But then you've got someone else, Will Hammond, in the identical car, and now we will see the difference. This is what 3.1 seconds over a grand scheme of 20 minutes makes. And you can see here, Will Hammond just driving it in, pointing it in early. Wide apex, late apex on the exit as well. And you can see the two cars here just still turning it in. A little bit of oversteer on exit. Just manufacturing some sort of grip there. Just a little bit more correction on the steering wheel here for Will Hammond. So maybe just an ARB adjustment here or there, or a damper adjustment is the difference between a couple of tenths of a second over the grand scheme of things. Pointing it in, get that car balanced on the exit for the Ferrari for Will Hammond. So that gives you a little bit of driver insight there, ladies and gentlemen, just on board of what you can expect from a different driving style in two identical cars. Maybe a little bit of setup on what they prefer, but it's only 2.8 seconds. You can still see the Ferrari in the distance there of Steve Rees, and Will Hammond still only within that 3-second gap. Half a sniff, maybe not a full sniff, but that's it. I reckon it's probably all in Steve Rees' hand here to lose or win this race at the moment, Lindsay Muddle, with 7 minutes and 50 or 44 seconds left in the race. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, I thought my nickname was meant to be Larko, but there we go with all the analysis there from Zach O'Reilly. I'll start calling you Larko, I guess. But anyway, yeah, Will Hammond, 2.8 seconds back. It's his race to just hold on to, and as he said, Steve Rees' race to win or lose, and I think that creates a good little atmosphere. But it looks like Alex Tonkin's made a mistake, a yellow flag, and dropping down the field, and Meg D was able to get a place as well, so maybe to see a little bit of a replay here, because that is an excursion off the racetrack for Alex Tonkin, I would imagine, to lose that much time. But they have an Aston Martin who is a lap down, hot on their heels at this point, and Alex Tonkin is going to have to get their head back down and continue going for the next 7 minutes of racing action. But definitely not what he'd be wanting here in Laguna Seca, as the gap has closed a tiny bit between Will Hammond and Steve Rees, but not anything of significance up the front. But Alex Tonkin cruising around the track, just trying to get back into it as we go a little bit back in time, but not enough to see whatever happened to Alex Tonkin. But Zach O'Reilly working away with the replay system, which isn't exactly optimal at the best of times to try and find the incident.
It's not the best. It gives you 30 seconds, 10 seconds, and 40 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. So apologies about that. We will go live very, very shortly here in the grand scheme of things as we go back to live now. But I'll tell you what, it's 2.6 seconds, Lindsay. It was 2.8, and we've got another blue flagger in the way here, and that is Ostentatious himself, just doing his best impression there of a blue flagger, getting right out of the way of everyone. Very, very well done. If anyone needs an education on how to be a blue flagger, go and talk to Sam Austin. I'll give you the hot tip. He knows where to put the car exactly. He's done it every single time this race. It's been fantastic to watch. But that gap now, 2.5 seconds, 5 minutes and 38 seconds. If I do my maths correctly here, Lindsay, it's going to have to be at least a second a lap between himself and Stephen Rees to get anywhere near taking P1 off Steve for the race win. Still, a 1:21.78 is the fastest lap of the race for Stephen Rees. 1:22 dead for Will Hammond. So 0.3 of a second is now coming to fruition. However, it is closing. It is 2 seconds now. Maybe a little bit of an unforced error there from Stephen Rees. That's gone down 0.8 of a second within about a lap and a half. So it could be on like Donkey Kong here, Lindsay Muddle, in the SimSational TV department. What are we going to see here? 2 seconds. Now 2.3. Okay, it just gets me excited there. Gives me a little bit of sniff. Now it's 1.5. Oh, look out. This is interesting. We're going to have to ride on board here. What is happening to Stephen Rees at the end of it? Only 1.3 seconds now, the gap between all in sundry here. 4 minutes and 38 seconds to go here. And now it's on like Donkey Kong. You can smell it now, Will Hammond. Can you get to taste that victory here? This is all happening. What can Stephen Rees do? Has he just got out of rhythm? Has he been distracted by the misso telling him he's going to get if he wins tonight, he's going to get some sort of horizontal dancing action? I'm not too sure here. There's a blue flagger getting out of the way once more. Oh no, this is going to hamper Will Hammond here. Oh, just gets out of the way in time there. Oh, wowee, that was incredible stuff. It's 1.5 seconds here between the two of them. 4 minutes and counting left here in the race. 1.5 seconds between the two of them. This is going to get exciting. Here we go. Hopefully Again, hope to God that this could be a 0.8 of a second gap by the time it comes to fruition here. Lindsay Muddle, what is your prediction? Is it going to happen?
I'm not sure, honestly. Steve-O might have just gotten out of the rhythm, but we've seen what happens when he gets right back into it. He does extend the gap, but if he can't find himself back in rhythm, I think Will Hammond is extremely going to come into play here in the dying stages. There's 3.5 minutes to go here in Laguna Seca. We're 46 laps into this race. It is going to be a blockbuster finish here if Will Hammond continues to close in. We don't know how much of that was Steve-O having to get out of the way of lap markers, falling out of the rhythm, whatever you want to call it, but it is closing right back in. But it's been 1.5 seconds for about the past lap. Is Will Hammond now running out of steam, or is Steve-O finding his groove once again?
Oh, geez, it's anyone's guess. You can just say 0.3 of a second gapped again over Will Hammond did Steve Rees on that final 2 seconds of the racing circuit here at Laguna Seca. But geez Louise, that gave us something to be excited about here. Now it's 2 seconds. So I think Stephen Rees here is going to take the chockies over Will Hammond. The top gear himself versus the Livery King. And the Livery King's going to come out on top here with 2 minutes 45 seconds left to go. That's going to equate to 2 laps, I would just say. Maybe 2 laps, if not 1.5, between now and the white flag have been waved. But wowee, in the grand scheme of things, this has been an exciting race. Will Hammond has not given anything for Stephen Rees to relax about once the pit stop started. 0.6 of a second versus Will Hammond's qualifying time of I think it was about 1.1 seconds slower on his qualifying lap, and still within 2 seconds of the race leader at the end of the race. What a cracking drive there from Hammond. Top gear, definitely himself, putting himself and Richard Hammond to shame, I guarantee you, because he's done no impression of Richard and bottled it at any stage or put himself into a coma. He's definitely right there within the hunt there. 1 minute 54 seconds ago, Lindsay Muddle. It's all down to now. It's probably 2 laps to go.
Yeah, and it is going to be absolutely exciting to finish off this race. 2.3 seconds. It'll take a mistake from Steve-O now for Will Hammond to close back up, but it's still been a cracking drive from Will Hammond. As you were saying, 1.1 seconds slower in qualifying, but his race pace has been truly inspiring here as he is headed through this race. The pit stop strategy definitely played into his hand. Potentially, Steve Rees will reevaluate after and see what he went wrong compared to Will Hammond, why his pit stop was so much longer, but it's all come out in the end to a 2.3 second gap, which I think he'll be quite happy about. So we are going to have one more lap. This is the penultimate lap of this race. It's lap 48 of 49 here in Laguna Seca, but what a race it has been. We had incredible moments. We had plenty of battles all throughout this race, and now it's going to come down to one more lap of Steve-O. We had 1 lap to begin the stream in qualifying with Steve Rees. We had 1 lap to close the qualifying. We had our eyes on him on lap 1 when the race start happened. Will we have an onboard lap here with Steve Rees to finish off the race as well? Yes, we will. So one more time here in Laguna Seca, on board with Steve Rees down towards turn 1. Let's just look at it here. It's first gear, using the low gear in the Ferrari to use the turbo it has with its V6 engine, just spool up the revs and get a slingshot out of the corner. Second gear now, just tip the car in, being gentle on the tyres, making sure not to overwork them here after the second pit stop of the race. Third gear, high-speed corner. Just look at the throttle work down on the bottom of your screen, ladies and gentlemen. That is how a pro driver races, just dancing on the limit here with the throttle pedal, using the traction control as little as possible to make sure it doesn't affect how fast he can push his race car at any given time. The Ferrari on balance, third gear through the left-hander, use all the track on the outside, even on the last lap of the race, when he has pretty much gotten one hand on the trophy. He is still pushing as hard as he can. He knows if he tried to just cool the pressure off at any moment, it could have gone wrong, even here on the last lap. So he's just pushed all the way to the very end. He's going to come through the penultimate corner and now towards the final corner here of Laguna Seca. One more braking zone to go, and he's going to tip it to the left, and as long as he doesn't run out of fuel or anything like that, it is going to go Steve-O's way here in the first round of ASA Pro Series, and he is going to take the win in Laguna Seca.
Well done to Stephen Rees. Fantastic drive. Also fantastic drive to Will Hammond as well in second place there. 1.1 seconds off in qualifying, and still managed to be within 2.6 seconds of the man in front of him, Stephen Rees. Well done to Will Hammond. Our third place getter, Breno Ellis, also SimSational drive from him in the Porsche against all odds there, and some strategy as well. Still managed to get himself on the third step of the podium tonight. Well done to him. Tim Purcell's just crossed the line from Pit Viper Motorsports there as well in fourth place. Cracking drive from him. He'll be happy with that too. The zookeeper himself in fifth place. The other Porsche on the grid tonight, John Zoo. Well done. 11 seconds away from getting the chockies off Tim Purcell. Mag Wheels is just about to cross the finish line here and take sixth place. He'll be happy with that, will Mag Wheels. He started seventh and sitting in sixth place to finish. Meg D as well. Wowee, unfortunate situation for Meg because literally in the opening stages was in for a podium battle. Lost 4 places there, down in 7th place, crosses the finish line right now to take the chockies, and that's it from everyone else. Alex Tompkins in the pits already. He's given up. Henderson's given up as well. And ostentatious, don't you worry about him. He is not giving up. He is finished the race, albeit 2 laps down. And what a drive from everyone in the grand scheme of things. Wowee. That is your racing. That is everything done and dusted tonight. I think 400% there, Lindsay. We got every single thing that we wanted to see in the grand scheme of things here at Seca Corsa Competizione. Well, let's go to your timetables and let's see what we saw in the racing department. It's not going to let us do it. Oh, my goodness gracious me. But, nonetheless, I'll tell you what, Stephen Rees takes the chockies over everyone else. Will Henderson in a distant 9th place as well. Cracking drive from him. What a livery setup we saw from everyone tonight. Tim Purcell doing very, very well indeed in that Pit Viper Motorsport car. And I would say that maybe we've got some sort of racing come to the next round here at the Pro Series, Lindsay. But still, 2.3 seconds separating the racing winner and second place getter at the end of the formation. That's a cracking drive from everyone in Sundry.
Yeah, it was an absolutely fantastic race. We couldn't have asked for much more, especially on a minimized grid. And next round, we'll have an even bigger grid to deal with, and the racing action will be accelerated. We'll see more cars and more fights for the lead, more cars up the front, and overall more racing action all around, and I am all here for it. But tonight was an absolutely great race and a good taste into what we have for the rest of the season here in ASA Pro Series.
Yeah, can't wait for the next one, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. Everyone sticking around. Well done to Stephen Rees. Took the chockies here for the opening round here at ACC Competiziones ASA Pro Series round 1. It's going to be incredible for the next round as well, with a bigger grid coming your way, as Lindsay said. Thank you to every single one of the chat members in there. We've got Ron Marshall, we've got Matty, we've got Tash Bandicoot, we've got Mace as well, and Will33. Thank you. And also the man, the myth, the legend himself who won the race, Stephen Rees, there as well. And also our I can't even speak. The Munro man puts the M in magnificent. Also tuning in there for a little bit too. Good to see you there, Christopher Munro. Hope you're enjoying your off-duty furlong visits, and we'll see you tomorrow night. And speaking of tomorrow night, Lindsay, V8 Supercars, classic, if you don't mind, 1990s-esque, 2000s, early 2000s. We've got AU Falcons, we have got VXs, we've got what have we got? We've got VSs and ELs coming your way here at SimSational TV tomorrow night also. So cannot wait for that to come on. That's where we'll be next at SimSational TV. But what a classic that we just witnessed here tonight at SimSational TV here for the Pro Series, Lindsay. It's been a pleasure to call it with yourself. Is Stephen Rees going to take the chockies for the next race? What do you reckon?
Oh, I reckon it's going to be too close to call. We don't know who's going to show up on the grid next week with a bigger field, and we know that Steve-O's quick and far on a Tuesday, and we now know that he's able to take the victories here in ASA Pro Series. But can anybody else creep up from nowhere like Jackson Storm in Cast 3 and take the win from absolutely nowhere? I think it's all to find out as we head over the rest of this season.
Cannot wait. Absolutely sensational stuff here tonight. 11 races on the grid. But that did not deter us here at SimSational TV. Anything's exciting. It's never over until the fat lady sings here at SimSational TV, and that checker flag is waved. Stephen Rees taking out the inaugural race here in the Pro Series tonight at Laguna Seca. Thank you to everyone. Looking forward to catching up with you again. But Lindsay Muddle, as always, is himself the best man in the business here to call the racing. I'm Zach O'Reilly, and guess what? You're not. But as always here, it's goodbye, good night, and here at SimSational TV, ladies and gentlemen, as always, keep it flat out. See you next time.